Right. So till last time we did this JDK, JRE, JVM. We tried to understand this, how they are related. If anyone has still has questions about this, you can ask in between. I can try to explain it. Maybe right now, maybe I will defer it for later. But this differentiation, you need to understand this. You cannot just memorize it. You need to know. You need to see it happening when you actually code. And I will tell you in between how these things are interacting with each other. But originally the idea is very simple. Because you are now trying to become a developer, right? Developer of an automation framework. If you are a developer, you need to have a JDK installed in your system. JRE will not work. JRE is just to execute the program. JDK is to compile the program. So here it's very clearly written. JDK converts source code to bytecode. So JDK, when you write something, it's a source code. When you compile it, it becomes a bytecode, and that bytecode is being transferred to JRE, and JRE will use JVM, also called as Java Virtual Machine, to execute that bytecode. And it's actually the JVM which is converting that bytecode to the machine level code, and it's interacting with the underlying operating system. And because of this JVM, Java is called as platform independent code or platform independent language. Why? Because on irrespective of what operating system you're using, Mac, Linux, Windows, irrespective of that, the same Java program can get executed if the corresponding underlying operating system has Java or JRE installed. So if you want to execute something, a Java program, all you need is JRE. If you want to create a compile a Java program, you need a JDK. That's all you need to know in this. Okay. Now, if you're clear with this, I'll go back to the our most important concept of classes and objects. Now, since you all know that Java is a object-oriented programming language. Now, when I say object-oriented programming language, what is the opposite of that? And not opposite really. What's if I put that into a contrast to a different kind of language structure, that is called as structural language. For example, VB script, where we don't have an idea of classes and objects there. But in Java or in any object-oriented programs, so for example, C Sharp, there are many other programs available. All those programs has concept of classes and objects. And having a classes and object concept doesn't mean that you have a object-oriented programming language. All right, you have to follow those principles. Now, Java and C Sharp, these are the two strict object-oriented programming languages which has facilities. It has facilities so that you can implement these principles, object-oriented principles. Now, it's a big topic. We can have complete 3 months of trainings on object-oriented programming languages. We have different design patterns. We have different things there. We're not going to go and venture there unnecessarily. Okay, we will be targeting towards our aim is focused towards automation testing. And while we do automation testing, we need to learn few certain concepts of object-oriented programming, as well as classes and object and different things, abstract classes, interfaces. So we're going to learn all those things. And we're going to learn that, as I earlier said, we're going to learn that while doing it. So we'll do something, we'll create a program, and while we create a program, we're going to keep on learning these concepts. But little bit of theory is important before we actually jump onto our code. Excuse me, sorry. So in this case, what you're right now seeing is classes and objects. If you're from IT background, and even if you're not from IT background, these are pretty simple to understand. Classes is just a structure, a template, you can say, or a categorization, a category. And what you see here is the actual implementation of it. So you can understand it like this. Car, it's a generic word. It's a category. Truck is a category. Now, a car can have different implementations. So, a car can be a Wagoner car, it can be a sedan, it can be a your big car, it can be a small car. Different kinds of cars are. It could be a racing car, right? So, different kinds of cars are available. They all belong to a same category called as car. So, car becomes a class, and its instantiation becomes an object. There are different words we can interchangeably use to denote what is an object. So, classes is a category, and when you try to create something out of that category, that becomes an object. Or in a certain different example, which is very similar, when you create a building, you create a blueprint. right? Now in a blueprint, it's written very clearly what is the structure of it. If you have, any one of you have bought a house, so before you buy a house, sometimes they show you a map where you have a blueprint, a structure. This is going there, this is where going, it's going to be your bedroom, this is going to be your drawing room, this is going to be your dining room, this is going to be your kitchen. So there's structure available, but that still nonetheless is a structure. It's a template. It's intangible. Intangible means you cannot see it implemented, right? It's just a plain diagram, nothing else, right? So it becomes a category, a type of house. Now when a builder builds it, and it builds different houses based on the same structure, all of those houses becomes the objects. So right now, from where I am speaking, right now from where you are sitting, they all are actually an implementation, and you all are sitting in live object in the form of those houses. And if you notice in your building, all houses are actually based on the same blueprint. So the blueprint of them will always remain same. So all of that house structure or category will always be that same class, based on which an architect created, and based on which construction company created these houses for you, right? So this is a very basic simple example I try to give about what are classes and what are objects. You cannot create an object without a class, as simple as that, because if you don't have a mechanism of how to create a person, you cannot just create it, because in a person you have to define what are the characteristics of that person, what are its behavior. Now this brings me to a next topic or next explanation of what is a class and how that class looks. So if I go above, if you notice here, a class has mostly two important things. Actually it has only two things. One is its attributes, second is its behavior. Attributes can have you can say different names to it. You can say it's properties, you can sometimes say it's state. So attributes, state, properties, they simply defines that particular class or object, right? So if you notice here, this person has specific property. Now this is an object. His object name is Harry, and this is its age, its sex, its height. All of that is defined here. All right, you see that? Now this becomes an object which has specific values of these attributes. So these attributes are there, but right now there are no specific values assigned to it, right? Here, if you when you make it, then this becomes a specific attributes to it. Something similar to the example which I gave earlier, which is the blueprint. So when an architect creates a blueprint, it just creates that this is what it should have. It should have a drawing room, it should have a kitchen, it should have a dining room. Now the dimensions of those dining room, and dimensions means length, width, how much size of that specific room has to be or should be, can be defined by the constructor based on the same template. So this gives a 3 bhk, this could give a 2 bhk, maybe a small 2 bhk or a bigger 2 bhk, something like that, right? And then this becomes a behavior. Behavior simply means what that particular class or object is capable of doing, how it would behave. So in this case, it's pretty simple. Since you yourself is an object and your class is a person, perhaps the god which made us all, if we agree to that, they must be having this kind of class with them. With that, god must have created this particular class first, and then they gave some attributes to it, or behavior, sorry, attributes here and behaviors here, that you can eat, you can talk, you can sleep, but you cannot fly. So for birds, god created another class where it has given different dimensions to it. So attributes, I should have a beak length, size, wings length and size, and all those things. And behavior is fly and walk and eat, right? So we need to have a specific template. In a nutshell, if I try to explain this class as an object, we need to have a specific template or category available. Once we create it, only then we can go and create an object, right? And as names, as you see here, classes, a class has only two important things. Rather, actually I should say three. One is there has to be a name of the class, which will define what that is. Attribute, the properties of it, the characteristics of it. So in your case, it will be name, age, sex, height, and whatever characteristics you have. Do you wear a glass, you don't wear a glasses, all those things. Maybe your ethnicity and maybe your DNA, all becomes part of that. Then behavior, like what you're capable of doing, eating, talking, sleeping, all those things, right? Now, if you understand this, let me bring you to a new concept of inheritance, right? Why I'm talking about inheritance as of now? Because it is very easy to understand. First of all, it is not no rocket science. We see it every day, and it's the most important concept which we have to use in our projects. It's a very useful concept available. And you see a word here highlighted called as reuse. Inheritance is mostly is used so that you could reuse the features or behaviors. All right. I'm not going to bore you much with these PPTs. By the way, I want to jump onto the code quickly, but I need to give some definitions of what that is. Now, inheritance, maybe it is better to explain from these diagrams instead of those words. So if you see here, you belong to a category, but perhaps that category also belongs to a different category, right? And perhaps that different second level category also belongs to another category, right? Guys, give me a minute. Someone's trying to join. Let me. Right. So he's in. Right. So this is inheritance. So if you talk about what you are, so you are a human, but you actually belongs. So you are a human. I should say, your class is human. You are a live instantiation of that class called as human. But that human itself is a type of mammals, and mammal then again is a type of animal, right? So the idea here is, if I want to define your behaviors, and if I define those behaviors in the human class, but the same are also defined in the mammals class. So why I am defining it here as well as here? Why can't I can just make use of this class and its behavior, which would I could just reuse inside the human class? Now these words can be little bit confusing for you if you have not heard of inheritance at all. But don't not to worry, I'm going to talk about it more when we actually code it. But the idea here is very simple. A category can belong to a category, a further category. So that that the category which the human belongs becomes or can be called as a parent category, and this can be a subcategory. So the topmost of this would be this one, animal, which you can say is a parent of all. Then this is a subclass, and mammal, human is a subclass of mammal class. So this subclasses, creation of subclasses, classes one after another, actually help you in minimizing the code and reusing the code. So if you see here at the top, this is the first line of that, allows the class to reuse the definition of another class as part of its own definition. So this way, if something is already defined in the mammal, the human need not implement it. All right, human will only implement what is necessary to make this class a human class. Only specific things which is uh, you know uh, specifically dedicated or targeted for humans. For example, sleep. Now sleeping is a common phenomena. You don't want to implement sleeping behavior inside human because every animal sleeps, right? So you can delete that sleep method from here. You can keep it inside animal, and then human can access this sleep method to actually perform a sleep operation, right? Now something which is specific to human, maybe a big brain, it moves on two legs. Now that is only available for humans, so that you will define in humans only. So what is absolutely necessary for, or a behavior which is absolutely necessary to be defined inside a subclass, you will only define that in a subclass. And whatever which is a common, which you can generalize, the right word here is generalize, something which you can generalize, you're going to move that up inside the parent class, right? I am not expecting everyone to understand this fully, so don't worry if you're not getting it. These things come slowly and gradually, so you need to wait. Now I'll have to move on to the next slide, which again is a very simple explanation of what this inheritance is. Now, if you notice, whatever you have, a cycle, a car, a boat, and an airplane, they all are type of a specific parent class called as vehicle, right? So the concept I was trying to explain earlier, all of these vehicles have a common method called as move, right? So this is a move here. If you notice, move. Now, there were two ways of doing that. We would have to create these 4 classes separately, and we will implement this move method in all of these classes, but that won't be an object oriented design, right? In object, since we want the object oriented design to happen, we will use inheritance concept, and this inheritance concept simply states if something which is common in all the classes and they all belong to a similar category, or you can generalize the categories, then you can simply create another class, you name it as vehicle or parent class, and you move the method which is common to all. So here the move method was present in all of these classes because all of these vehicles has a common behavior called as move. So I have moved that specific move method to the top, which is a parent class, and all of them can now access it and make use of it. So if move method will be called inside bicycle, the bicycle will move. If move method will called inside car, the car will move. If move will you be used inside boat, then boat will move, because every vehicle can move. So this is a simple, very simplistic example of how inheritance work. We will need to make use of it in our example. So I am going to make use of it in an example which I'm going to talk about it, and that example is of very simple application called as calculator application. We'll try to implement the calculator application, and we'll see 2 different ways of doing it. One is uh, in non object oriented programming way, and second will be about object oriented programming way. Okay. By the way, any questions so far? If you is there anyone who is not getting anything at all? All right, no one will admit that anyway. All right, so cool. So not to worry if you're not getting it. I'm saying it again and again. Don't get confused. These things come slowly. These things are not very, I should say, intuitive, because we are not really designed to think in that way. Part of us are designed in that way, but there are few things which are non-intuitive to us, and since this is a new skill set, it will take some time. So don't worry if you're not getting it. I'll come to that. Now there another example of inheritance here: single inheritance and multiple inheritance. I have already explained this in a way. Multiple inheritance, I will not really talk about it as of now, because Java anyway this is not allowed. There's a way to do it multiple inheritance, but that is not really a multiple inheritance concept. So we will skip it for now for the explanation part. But this I have already explained: single inheritance, wherein we have different classes available, shape, ellipsis, and as you see, shape is the parent of all. That shape you have two kind: ellipse, polygon. Then polygon can be of different types: triangle or quadrangle. Then quadrangle can of different types: rhombus, rectangle, square. So different ways of visualizing. What you're seeing right now is a visualization of how a classes can be structured in the parent and subclass mechanism, right? And this is what we learned. The similar type thing we learned here as well in the vehicle case example, similar here in animal, mammal, and human example. So we see this inheritance concept nearly everywhere around us. Now, what are objects? I try to explain that. Objects are instantiation of a class. Usually object has state, behavior, and messages. So don't worry about this messages. This simply is how the objects will interact with each other, right? But you need to understand the state and behavior. State is its properties, behaviors are its methods. All right. Now, if I go here, what are objects, which we already discussed. Some more explanation on what are states. So states are values of attributes in objects. So if anyone of you has seen a class earlier, how a class looks, a class usually when you go and create variables, right? You create variables: int a is equal to something, int b is equal to something. Those are actually its attributes. Those are its variables, and as I said, it has different names. So you can say they are states, attributes, or you can say properties. Behaviors are nothing but methods. When you go and create methods, those actually becomes your behaviors. Messages, simply when you call something, right? When you call a method, those are actually interactions. So you're passing the messages. If you're calling a message, you are passing something to it. It becomes a message communication between, right? All right. I don't know what's happening right now. Someone is trying to play around with the Zoom. I don't know. There's some sketches being made. Anyway, now classes and objects we have, I think, discussed in detail. So I'm not going to talk about that in this particular slide. So if I move here, now this is how basically it looks. Okay. Now, this is my first class. I will try to explain that. And don't worry, we are going to immediately quickly jump onto our Java code, maybe after this slide. But let me just first explain this, what we have here. So this is your actually typical class. This is how your class looks. And this is its object. Okay, so this is your class and this is your object. Now class, if you see here, what you see here, this is the name of the class. As I said, the class need to have these three things. One is name of the class, then you need to have the name of the attributes or the properties or state, and this is your method, right? Or you also can say it's a behavior. Now there is one special method available here, which is this one. This is called as constructor, right? Now what is a constructor? Constructor has it's a different types of constructors available, parameterized, non-parameterized, different kinds available. But the most important concept to understand here is what is a constructor. A constructor is a special behavior because it's nonetheless it's a method. A constructor is a method which gets automatically triggered as soon as you create the object of it. All right, so if this is an if a class has a constructor like this, then it needs to be implemented by the name of the class. The method name has to be exactly similar to the name of the class. So if you notice, the class name is addition and the method name is also addition here. One more thing to notice here, it cannot have a return type, right? So if I try to explain a typical behavior, how you will implement a behavior, you see like this: public int perform addition. Now perform addition here simply means the name of the behavior. Int means what it will return if it is called. So if you call a method, what it should actually return is, you need to mention it here. And when you see this public, that these are called as access modifiers. This is how Java can control, or you can control inside Java, what needs to be, what can be accessed and what cannot be accessed, right? So there are different kind of access modifiers. So public, protected, private, default. We're going to learn about it in detail later. But for now, what you need to understand, the common structure of a class. Now, if I try to summarize all of that, a class has a name and it can also have an access modifier. So I have to mention that class is accessible from where, public, private, how it's going to be. Then if I go inside one level down, which is these values, this is called a state properties. Here also you need to define basically three things. One is name of the variable, then the type of the variable. So you always have to define the type of the variable. If you don't define the type of the variable, then Java will throw a error. It will say it needs to be defined. You cannot leave a variable undefined of its type. So this is also called, this whole statement is called as declaration. So I am declaring a variable and I'm saying while declaration, its name is num1 and its type is integer, right? Now again, it's a different, there are different types available. So one type is similarly, you can give it a type to any variable by the name of its object. So integer, string, there are few primitive types available in Java, integer, strings, etc., etc. As I said, you cannot learn everything in a single go. So leave it for later. Right now, just understand this. If you want to save an integer value, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you're going to use int here. If you want to store a string, then you're going to say string. Mostly these are most two common types available, which you mostly will be using in the initial days at least, right? So now these three variables which I have written here, they all are defined or declared. So right now I have only declared them. So there's a difference between declaration and initialization. So this is your declaration. And if I go one level down, which is this, it becomes your constructor. So this is your constructor. It will automatically will have to be called as soon as you create an object. And when you create it, you actually are passing two arguments. This is called as argument passing. So you're passing two arguments here called as number1 and number2. And I am now initializing my variables here. So I'm saying this means this object. The object which is going to be created based, from this class can be indicated with or pointed out to be used with a keyword called as this. So when I say this dot num1, this means this variable. I'm assigning this variable with number1 here, which I'm passing from outside. So what happened as soon as I create the object, these variables will be set. Okay, something similar to example which we seen earlier. Name, so name, height, wait. So when we create an object, you need to define these states and properties. All right. Last is your method, which is again public int perform in addition. And this is actually returning something. So when you want to return something, once this perform addition is called, you're going to return result. All right. All right, guys. So this meeting is going to get over very soon. I'm going to send a new link. Please join that.